Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bottoms Up, Fins Up with the legend that is Lewis Brown out of Sugar Land, Texas.
Here we go.
And we are very excited tonight to be joined by special guest Benjamin Raven of ESPN 96.1 FM out of
mlive.com, Ann Arbor News, Flint Journal. That's all right.
I got you, brother.
Yep.
And Combat One Wrestling. How exciting is that?
Very exciting. Yeah. Combat One Wrestling. I trained to be a pro wrestler for a couple years over in Canada. And then I took the Lions job and kind of put that life behind me. And I making my long-awaited play-by-play debut with some guys I trained with, and really looking forward to it here in Metro Detroit.
That's so cool, man. Let's get to the topic of the hour. We've got Lions, Dolphins, the juggernauts of the NFL going up against it this weekend. Some called it a Super Bowl preview at the end of the year. Others didn't.
Others didn't.
This is an intriguing game for Dolphin fans, I feel like. Is it similar for Lions fans coming off of the game last weekend, the loss against the Cowboys? Is there intrigue to it? Is there excitement to it? What is the feeling in Lion Nation currently?
Or is there any feeling, Ben?
Well, that's fair. Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question to that.
I think the main feeling is anxiety right now, and they're 1-5, and yeah, they're tuned in for sure. It's been a busy week around here. We got the drop in from the team owner yesterday, walking off the practice field just to kind of express their confidence in the regime. So that's kind of how dark it's turned around these parts so far. But yeah, no, there's excitement for sure. There's excitement to welcome an exciting team to Ford Field, the playmakers like y'all got, and this is a city that's in desperate need of a win right now across the board, especially for these Lions. I mean, listen, I was a little lower than them on most heading into the season, but I didn't have them at 1-5 through 6 games. So they are underachieving and really need to kind of put some results on the field.
So we're excited. So we're actually headed up to Detroit for the game. Okay. In your experience, where does Ford Field fit in with the stadiums in the league? What are we in for going to the game at Ford Field?
It's a nice stadium. It's a nice location in downtown Detroit. It's right across the street from Comerica Park. You're not going to be far away from Little Caesars Arena. You're not far away from one of the best river walks in the country, looking across at Canada at the Detroit River. So it's a really nice location. There's nothing otherworldly about the stadium. It's big, it's spacious, it gets loud, it gets rocking in there, no doubt. But it is a good time. They've got some good food in there. It's a really nice spot to watch a football game for sure.
Are the fans? If I show up and I'm a good fan, Ben. I'll tell you, when I go to opposing teams' stadiums, I do wear my colors. I'm not afraid of that, but I sit there and I just cheer quietly. Are they a good group of people? Should I fear for my life? What do you think?
No, you'll be safe. You'll be safe to be yourself. I mean, when the Packers come to town, this is a split stadium. When the Cowboys come to town, it's a split stadium. So you'll be safe in there. They're used to it. They're used to it around these parts.
All right.
Pops, don't undermine what you do in a game. We all know that you got the face painted like what's his name, Putty from Seinfeld. Devils.
The Devils.
You know we're all gonna spell out Dolphins across our chest. You know how excited we are for that. Miami comes in at a 3.5-point favorite. Is that about right? Do you feel like? I mean, you've watched the Lions closer than we have. Jeff Okudah, who I feel like has turned into a dude. Like, he's the guy. I feel like him, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, 3.5 points going on the road. Typically, you get 3 points for a home team. So if they're a home team is the dog by 3.5, basically they're saying Miami's about a touchdown better than Miami. Is that about right in your assessment?
Yeah. Totally. I was going to say, neutral field this one, and I probably give Miami 6.5, 7 points in this one for sure, just because, the Lions haven't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. It's a team that just has not been able to, they were the highest scoring offense in the league through 3 weeks. Now they haven't scored a touchdown in 8 quarters. The defense was allowing more points than Matt Patricia's defenses did around here. And then they've turned in 2 straight pretty good games. So they just haven't been able to match up half. So about a touchdown, that makes sense because the Lions outside of Okudah, they've had a hard time covering people this year. And they've had a hard time getting pressure when they send more than 3 or 4 guys. And they've had a even harder time covering when they send a blitz. So it's a really tough matchup with Hill and Waddle on the outside and that quick fire quarterback.
You know, I'll tell you, Ben. I'm sorry, Michael.
No, go ahead.
We had the pleasure of, I guess, almost a full year of having Dan Campbell as our coach. And I got to tell you, I like Dan Campbell. The man is fiery. He'll go toe-to-toe with anybody, the owners, the players. I wish they would have kept him on. I like Dan Campbell.
Yeah, no, I've kind of spent the last 14 days kind of not defending him, but just kind of saying, kind of to cool the flames around these parts, that this was a long-term rebuild. This is a genuine coach. He has rebuilt the culture. It's been really, really impressive what he has done inside that team facility, inside that locker room. I mean, it is a different world than it was under Matt Patricia. I mean, Dan Campbell is a player's coach. He knows how to lay down the law, but he is a player's coach. So I feel you there. The Lions got Ben Johnson from you guys too. They love him too. It was you got to support your team. Exactly. No, you'll be safe. But Dan Campbell, yeah.
What's your feeling? I mean, are you noticing a trend here? New England, Belichick's such a great coach through the years. But have you noticed Charlie Weiss, Brian Flores, Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniel? Are these guys kind of like the Scottie Pippins of head coaches?
I get what you're saying. With Patricia specifically, it was just trying to fit square pegs into round holes, like just trying to make that Patriots way happen. I mean, he showed up on day one acting like he was Bill Belichick. So it's just kind of like, I think sometimes those guys, I'm not trying to speak for all those coaches you just listed, but I think there's just kind of they see how Bill does it and they think they can just be Bill on day one where they are. And you kind of have to earn that respect to be Bill Belichick inside an NFL locker room. And I just think that's like Matt Patricia lost that locker room before they had even played a regular season game, some would argue around here. And I just think there's a lot of that goes into those coaches that come from that program.
Isn't it a little scary, though, that the head coach is liable to fight any one of his players and coaches at any given time? Like, is there any of that going on in the locker room? Like, you say something wrong, and I can just see Campbell just throwing something down and be like, all right, dude, let's go outside. I'll fight you right now. I swear I will take you. I will beat your ass if you say something again.
I know the knee bite, the kneecap biting and stuff, and everybody thinks it's like crazy, like balls to the walls. But with Campbell, I mean, he really is kind of just like a laid back dad that's running the show that like everybody respects and stuff. Like he's not going to fight you. He's not going to cuss you out or make a mockery of you. But I mean, he does command respect with the way he talks and the way he treats those guys. He treats those guys with respect and you see it come straight back. But I mean, I tell you, he does look like he could still play tomorrow. That dude is jacked when he comes in after a game and he clutches that podium like this. We joke around that he's going to break that thing in half one of these days. So,
I mean, it was a really great from afar Hard Knocks this year. Did you enjoy the process of watching Hard Knocks? Because to me, one of my buddies in the office, big Lions fan, he's from Detroit. He became a bigger Lions fan after Hard Knocks. Is that the perception around the team? Is that your perception? Do you think it put the Lions in a better light nationally?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Lions are a team that don't get that national light shined on them too much. And when they do, it's usually for the wrong reason. So, I mean, this was HBO dedicating 6 weeks of positive press about the Lions. And I mean, I think it really, on one hand, it was a great show for the franchise. It showed what they're building. It showed that coaching staff and how they connect with these guys. But on the other hand, it really got the hype train rolling ahead of this season. And this was always going to be a long-term rebuild. I mean, they don't even know if they have their long-term quarterback under center, and it really got expectations high. People started thinking about playoffs and stuff like that. So it was a double-edged sword for sure. But for the franchise, for Dan Campbell and his staff, I think it was a very, very positive thing to just kind of, because that's how they are when there's no cameras or 5 cameras in the room. Dan Campbell is Dan Campbell. Aaron Glenn is Aaron Glenn. Aubrey Pleasant, all those coaches are what they are every single day, no matter if there's 2 beat writers there or HBO cameras in every corner. And that's the biggest appeal about them is they are who they say they are.
Dad, there's a reason why you don't do fantasy football. And it's exactly a week like this week where I have DeAndre Swift as my running back. And now I'm like, okay, do I not play DeAndre Swift? It's a money league. I have to play, fantasy football. Ben, are you a fantasy football guy? Because I hate it. I hate it for games like this one.
I am. I'm in 2 leagues that I've been in, each for more than a decade. So we've got a pretty good group going. And no, this is a tough game for sure. I mean, for a guy like Swift, we thought Swift was playing last week, and then he didn't. He's a tough cookie to read. And this team's got a lot of injuries, and I tell you, bad luck injury bug with this team on both sides of the ball. It just feels like for 3 years running. So yeah, I feel you. I love fantasy football, and I'm going through hell right now too, because Matthew Stafford and Dak Prescott are my quarterbacks, and I got Jamar Chase, who just went down today. So I feel down, you.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. Dad, let me ask you this, and then I want you to touch on this as well. Tua, the national perception on Tua. Dad, Tua Tagovailoa, is he the quarterback of this team game 1 of next year or no?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, and Ben, you can comment on this, but to me, everybody was talking about Tua. They forget we were 3-0 until he allegedly went down, but that's all you've heard. Tua needs to retire, concussion, the Dolphins handle it wrong, blah, blah, blah. I wish he would get more attention for the good stuff instead of the concussion piece. But in answer to your question, I'll tell you this, and Ben, Michael, and I have argued about this. If for whatever reason Tua is not the guy by the end of the year, he gets hurt again, he gets another concussion.
Jared Goff is the quarterback of the Dolphins. No,
Who?
I'm just kidding. I know, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Jared Goff. We'll give you a number 1 pick. But my feeling is if he is not the answer, then next year at this time, Lamar Jackson will be the quarterback of the Dolphins.
There's a lot of fans around Detroit that wish Tua was their quarterback right now. From
interesting. Okay.
That 2020 draft, my goodness, it felt like every other day I was writing a Tua headline. There's still a very strong contingent of fans that are like, man, they could have had that dude in here. They could have been building for the future instead of figuring out if this is a bridge Jared Goff or something for the future too. So there's a lot of that'll be an interesting vibe at Ford Field this Sunday when Tua's out there, because there were a lot of people that are kind of still ticked off he's not around these parts. But I would say perception to Tua is, I think, when he's been on the field this year, he's done everything that he's needed to do. And I just think if he's able to stay healthy, he looks like the guy to me. And I just think Hill and Waddle, if Tua can get more consistent with his deep ball, people get lost. He can throw the deep ball. He just needs to get a little more consistent with it, maybe a little more trust in that arm for my take. But I just think Hill and Waddle, with a quick fire quarterback like that's they built around Tua, it feels like, from the outside looking into me with those guys. And then you look at Mostert and Edmonds, there's just a lot of speed. You can go deep, you can go short, a lot of playmakers that can do the stuff with the ball in their hands that kind of work well with his stylistic. So my take on Tua is arrow up from this time last year for sure.
But he can't do. And then when he does something, like, for example, in last Sunday night's game, he ran for a first down. He put his head down. Yeah. And man, Michael's face summed it all up. He shouldn't do that. He should. No. And I liked what he said. He goes, I'm either in this to win, he goes, or I'm not, but I'm not going to, Now, I will say his sliding needs a little more work on it, but going head first somewhere is, you just can't do it. He's
also 12-1 in his last 13 games, which I feel like a lot of franchises would take. But I'm also a little upset that the Dolphins haven't come out with a throwing Samoan T-shirt, like his face on it. Like, I'm a little disappointed in that fact. Then I want to give a shout out to the Lions, who, is this right? You guys signed your punter is now the highest paid punter in the league. Yeah. Like, I feel like if you asked me, give me a team that would give the highest salary to a punter in the league, and I only got one guess, I think I would go Lions.
Who is your punter? Ray Guy?
Jack Fox. Jack Fox is the punter for the Lions, and
I like it.
Yeah, he's in his first season, 2020, Pro Bowler, All Pro, set the net punting yardage record for, like, he's got the best net record in NFL history through 120 punts, 125 points. So it's like, it's hilarious that the team that never punts and always goes for it on fourth down is the highest paid punter in the league. But I'll tell you, Jack Fox, he kicks the crap out of the ball. He's consistent. And I think he's 3 for 4 on fake punt passes recently too. So he's Bill Belichick called him a weapon. He's a weapon. He just kept repeating weapon. So
I'm going to be so disappointed, Ben, if we're at the game on Sunday and there's not like Fox hats or people dressed like foxes.
You will see double-digit Jack Fox jerseys.
Oh, okay.
Guaranteed. You will see upwards of 50 offensive lineman jerseys. Ragnow, Sewell. You will see so many Ragnow and Sewell jerseys. It's Lions fans. That's what I love most about them is their jersey choices. Like I'll be walking behind like 6 dudes on the way into the stadium. It'll be like Corey Schlesinger, and like Joey Harrington. And then you got Jack Fox and like Frank Ragnow. So look for that.
See, I would have expected to see like Barry Sanders and Lem Barney and just all those, those guys,
Wait, hold on. Did you just reference, if he were to go in the Hall of Fame, would Joey Harrington go in as a Lion or a Dolphin? I'm pretty sure he would go in as a Dolphin.
I think he would go on as a Dolphin too, because I think he's the last Dolphins quarterback to beat the Lions at Ford Field. So
that's incredible that you bring that up. Like I can't even, when I think about Dad, Dolphins quarterbacks through the last 20 years, Cleo Lemon, Joey Harrington, Jay Fiedler, Dante Culpepper, Pat White,
Ray Lucas.
Good call by you. I mean, Ben, the Lions are staring down either the top pick in the draft, top 5 pick in the draft. It has to be a quarterback, right? Like it has to be. This has to be the year that the Lions say, "Here's our guy. We're taking him."
We've had this talk inside the media room a lot recently, and most of us are kind of at the point where we don't think it's going to be a first-round quarterback again this year, just because it kind of feels like it's kind of similar to the Tua way they built. They kind of built around Jared Goff, and I know that's a weird thing to say, but they kind of built the timeline of this offense around his contract, and like he's still a pretty hefty buyout after this season, and it's really because we joke around like GM Brad Holmes, we say love something like Brad Holmes loves Jared Goff, so it's really hard to get a read on when they're going to go away from that. I mean, if he has another 4 turnover game and this team doesn't score a touchdown in another game, I think it is trending towards that right direction. And I just think they're going to need to have a top 3 or top 4 pick to take a quarterback. I don't think they want to be at 8, 9, or 10 and banking on a Will Levis or the Stanford kid or a riser behind Young or Stroud. I mean, if it's Young or Stroud, pull the trigger. They skipped on Justin Fields 2 years ago. They skipped on quarterbacks last year. Stroud or Young, find one you fall in love with if you're your top 3 pick and get it. Like,
do you really feel like skipping Justin Fields was a bad thing?
I think behind Detroit's offensive line, even with revisionist history and taking Sewell off of it, he'd be in a much better situation. And you look at the receivers now, he'd be in a much better situation. I think what Chicago has done to him through his first year and a half as a starter has been absolutely disastrous. I blame the franchise for about 80% of what Justin Fields has been to this point. I'm not willing. I would take Penei Sewell over Justin Fields myself, probably 9.9 out of 10 times too. But I just think, like you said, they got to get a quarterback at some point. Like it's so hard to get a feel for this rebuild when it's Jared Goff ... question mark at the top. So,
that's fair. I do want to run something by you because Dolphins Twitter is a really interesting place because it's like a family reunion, but half the family hates each other. If that makes sense. Like
kind of like our family.
No, Dad, not like our family.
Oh.
No, it's very much that it's very like, even when the Dolphins win, it's like we don't win, if that makes sense. Because they nitpick just, Tua went to his left. He should have gone to his right. It was almost an interception. It was almost this. It's almost that. And I'm like, but they won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he went head first to try and get a first down. He didn't get it. They're like breaking down like family history, like what happened to him as a child. Like he has to feel like he has to prove himself. And I'm like, how about you just enjoy the win? How about you just sit there and enjoy the win? I mean, our fans like Pops and I, because Pops and I are very similar. He's like, just enjoy the win. And I'm like, Dad, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's like I see like the social media world, it's so now skewed to where you just see these fans who just want to complain over. Yeah. I had to wait 20 minutes in line for a beer. Well, congrats, your team won. Just stay off of Twitter, fam. You know what I mean? Like that's where I feel like we're at.
Lions Twitter is also pretty interesting. 50% of them are satisfied with moral victories, and 50% of them want to talk about why they shouldn't have fired Jim Caldwell still. It's a very dark place, especially this time of year. I mean, it's a good group. It's a great, funny group, but half of them are calling for Dan Campbell and like Brad Holmes to be fired already, like a year and a half into a long-term rebuild. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it's been a dark place since I joined the beat. I mean, I joined the beat in the second year of Matt Patricia's tenure. This team has never been out of last place for a game I've covered in November or December. So it's, I've never seen. The only high spot of was the undefeated matchup of the Lions and Chiefs in 2019 when Lions fans were feeling their best. So it's kind of been dark these last couple of years. There haven't been many wins just to shut up and kind of savor.
No, I mean, that's fair.
But he's right though, Ben. I mean, it's like
he is right. He is.
I mean,
yeah.
if you think about it, last week they came out firing on all cylinders, and then all of a sudden, that was it for the rest of the game. And all you heard about was, why didn't he kick the field goal? Or, why did they stop? They couldn't score any more points. Or why did I'll give you a baseball reference here in Houston. You got a team that's going to the World Series here, but it's like, well, why can't Altuve hit? What's the problem? Why can't Altuve hit? Why can't Tucker? Well, guess what? You know what? They're there. It's like, last week's win after a 3-game losing streak. I take it all day.
Closed roof, no roof, raised the roof, Stroh's and Phil. Thank you, Austin. And look, we'll get beyond that. We'll get to your World Series prediction in a few. Let's get to game prediction. Ben, who wins this weekend? Quite honestly, like I said before, some called it the Super Bowl preview. I did not. Dolphins, Lions, Ford Field. Who wins this weekend and why?
I got the Dolphins winning by double digits. The Lions defense is still kind of working through some things. They're heading in the right direction. They got their second round rookie Josh Pascal on the field for the first time last week. The run defense is looking up. I just don't see a world where they properly cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I've just seen too many broken coverages over the last 6 weeks against any kind of quarterback, that is. I mean, this is a team that has lost to Geno Smith-led offense. I know he's having a heck of a season, but they dropped 48 stinking points on the Lions at Ford Field. I mean, this is Jeff Okudah. I mean, yeah, he's having a great turnaround season, but his best game of his career came last week from like a safety box type of role where he had 15 tackles and he's stopping the run. He's never played against anybody like Tyreek Hill. He's never played against anybody that's got Waddle's speed. So, it'll be close going into the fourth quarter, but as the Lions have this season, I think they'll give up a goofy turnover and then Miami will kind of stretch its lead out in the end there. I just don't think there's enough firepower, and I just don't think there's enough in that secondary to slow those guys down.
And Ben, I'll say this is, God, and I'm going to sound like one of those Dolphin Twitter guys here, I mean, Tyreek Hill's having a great year. I mean, those guys, it's like the Duper and Clayton years, with Marino. But if they could ever figure this out, they got a guy named Mike Gesicki who is a beast, but they just don't go to him anymore,
He might get some red zone targets this weekend against the middle of that Lions defense.
Dad, you have to promise to not run onto the field this weekend. And as long as you do that and not end up on TMZ, what is your prediction for this weekend?
I'm going 27-14 Dolphins.
I'm going to go 35-21. I almost went Lions, but I'm going to go Dolphins. Ben, your World Series prediction, Phillies and Astros.
Give me Astros in 5. JV gets his ring.
I like it, baby. I like it.
Ben might be our favorite guest, I think, that we've ever had on this show. He just went Dolphins. He went Astros. Like, we found somebody outside of the city of Houston that chose the Astros. Because if you believe Twitter, no one's rooting for the Astros outside of the city of Houston.
Well, but how sad is that, that we are so hated that people are rooting for that nasty city of Philadelphia?
Okay, Dad. Okay, let's calm it down. Let's calm it down real quick.
Nasty.
It is kind of cool though, because Texans are playing Philadelphia next Thursday night. Philadelphia and the Astros in the World Series.
Cool.
That's going to be really cool. Michigan State. Who you got this weekend?
Oh, Michigan. I think Michigan will win pretty. Nobody ever seems to blow each other out outside of a few exceptions in that game, but I do think Michigan will win that. I think they'll cover that 21.5-point spread.
Oh, okay, Ben. All right, giving out gambling odds on the show. I like it. I'm a big
Ben,
fan.
are you a basketball fan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I played 2 years of college basketball, actually, at a small school in Grand Rapids, Michigan up here.
So
I'm a
what's
big
your
dude.
take on the Pistons?
Just another rebuilding year. They got some young pieces in place that kind of feel like they have that thing moving in the right direction. And I like the core. It's just it still feels like an incomplete rebuild. You got your superstar in Cade. You got a really nice draft pick in Jaden Ivey, and Duran looks like a stud so far too. And I mean, I love watching Isaiah Stewart play. And Bogdanovich is like playing like one of the best shooters in the league right now. So they got some nice pieces, but they're another year away from playoff contention, I think.
See, I look at the Pistons and the Rockets in kind of the same light. You know, we got Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. We're still trying to figure that one out. But this year, you got Jabari Smith, you got Tari Eason, you got a nice nucleus. But what I like is you all turned around and made a move for Bogdanovic, who is that kind of a veteran piece to the whole thing. And I've been calling for that forever. And that veteran piece is not fat Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, you need a piece like a Bogdanovic or something.
Did you just say fat Eric Gordon? Is that what the way we're going to reference him from now on? Is FEG? Is that what we're going to call him? I like it. I'm a big fan. Fat Eric Gordon. I'm here for it, Dad.
I like that they got Bogdanovic. I wish we would make a move like that to get kind of not an over the hill guy, but a nice 4 or 5 year veteran who can in crunch time pull these guys together and kind of help them out. That's been my only bugaboo.
I like Detroit. I will ask you this before we move on: who wins in a street fight and why? Dan Campbell or Isaiah Stewart?
Dan Campbell.
Really?
Wow.
I think he's a superhero.
I mean, I've seen Isaiah. Isaiah's built like a freaking house. I would pay money to see him in like a UFC ring, like a WWE like street fight that's not scripted, like tables, ladders, and chairs. Like I would pay to see that fight.
Is he the one who went after LeBron last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Isaiah. Like that's why I asked the question. Campbell would be like a minus like 120. In Vegas, but like I think I would put money on Stewart.
That feels accurate.
Okay. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Like
I think Campbell would win. I don't know if he feels pain.
I would love to see like athletes versus coaches and like WWE like wrestling style matches. I would pay to see some matchups. That would be so much. Dad, don't shake your head. That's a new school idea. Okay, I kind of like it. Let me ask you a question. Is Buddy's Pizza the best pizza in the city of Detroit?
It's the best go to the original. You can find that easily on the website if you go. It's great Detroit style pizza. If you're looking for Detroit style pizza, that's the spot. There's a spot a little closer to down, or there's a spot called Grandma's Bob, which I really like. They do some good Detroit style pizza, but my personal favorite spot in Detroit is called Pie Sai. And they get weird in there. They do like a rotating seasonal menu. They got weekly specials. Really good ingredients, and they mix it up. They got traditional, they got weird, it's Pie Sai. That's the spot for me. That's
so. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
My wonderful brother-in-law, his wife, and kids have lived there forever. And what does it mean, Detroit pizza? What's the difference between Detroit pizza and Chicago pizza?
The Detroit style pizza has a thicker crust. It's rectangular. It's got the crispy edges on the outside. It's crispy and chewy. It's bready. It's kind of, it's more bready pizza than the Chicago pizza is like a lasagna to me. It feels like sometimes when you go places. Detroit, you're getting a thick piece of bread. You're getting crispy edges along the side. Those corner pieces are some of the best to get that burnt cheese on there. Oh. Yeah. Four square and bready.
Sounds good.
I took a Buddy's Pizza on the plane once.
Oh, nice.
It was phenomenal.
Oh, that's the good stuff. It is.
Oh, I'm so excited. Best brewery in the city of Detroit to check out while we're there.
Oh, best brewery. I did see you had that question on there. I love going to a place called Motor City Brewing Works. That's a pretty cool spot. Atwater's a popular one. I haven't been there in a while. There's a spot near, and this is a cool location. It's right next to Jack White's Third Man Records. It's Jolly Pumpkin Pizzeria and Brewery. That's a good spot right there. They got good pizza. They got good beers in there. And there's a spot called Brew Detroit. We do have a founder. There's a Founders here, and Founders is one of the more popular breweries out of the state. They're based out of Grand Rapids, but they got a spot over here that's pretty cool. But yeah, Motor City Brewing Works is a really cool spot, and Jolly Pumpkin is a little more laid back, but they got some good beer and food in there too.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because you're a basketball guy too.
Yeah.
And Michael and I debate about this. What happened to Russell Westbrook? I mean, this guy was an athletic freak.
I had no idea where you were going with that question, by the way, Dad. You could have given me $5 million. When you led that up, I was like, what the hell are you about to ask him? But yes, good question.
This guy was maybe still, an athletic freak, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We make the trade to get him here, which I wasn't thrilled about it at the time. I just think ever since he ended up playing with James Harden, what has happened to this guy? How does he is he with the wrong team? The Lakers are a crap show. He was with Washington. What is your opinion?
I think it's part B is he's with the wrong team right now. That's a really bad fit for him. Their offseason kind of worked against him to me. But I think I look at Russell Westbrook, this era of Russell Westbrook is kind of like a 32-year-old NFL running back. Like it's a guy who just ran his body into the ground, 82 games a year, did everything for those Thunder teams post KD, did a lot for those teams. He has played so many minutes at such a high level. He's a smaller guy throwing his body in the lane against 6'10", 6'11", 7-footers. And I just think on him, as he's lost some of that explosiveness, as he's lost that elite stamina, I don't think he's adjusted his game enough to kind of work with his body that's failing. He's 33 years old. He's got a lot of miles on those legs. I kind of look at him as like an aging running back. It's like, but he's got a chance to adjust his game. Like Russell Westbrook is probably one of my favorite players I've ever watched play basketball. Like there's just not been too many people like him. And I just think it's one of those things where you can't do it forever. You can't play that style forever. And it just kind of time ran out on him for playing that balls to the wall style.
That's a good point.
I think it's the Harden jinx.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is, you guys are right. It makes me sad to talk Rockets basketball. Like it makes me sad, but Ben, this is a lot of fun, man.
This is great. Yeah.
We would love to have you back on. Literally anytime you let us know, we'd love to have you back. Do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap the show up?
Hey, wrestling fans, independentwrestling.tv, making my play-by-play debut tomorrow night. Nice. All my Lions work, mlive.com/Lions. Follow me on Twitter, Benjamin S. Raven. That's about it right there. That's pretty much the life right there this time of year.
So, Ben, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When we show up at the airport Saturday and we're walking through the airport and I'm wearing my Justin Verlander Astros jersey, is that cool?
Very cool. People love JV around here. They don't blame him.
I thought you were going to ask Ben to pick us up at the airport. Yeah, I was like, we're buddies, but like, I don't know if we're like that yet. Ben's standing there at the airport with a sign that just says "Fins Up, Coach
Let's get Chick-fil-A. Yeah,
I'm in. He's got Chick-fil-A waiting for us in the back. Southern hospitality. This has been episode 14 of the Bottoms Up, Fins Up podcast.
Thank you, Ben, so much.
Check us out on the Fins Talk Sports Network. It is 7:35. Go Stros, Fins Up, and the Jets still suck. So we'll talk to y'all next week.